decision. I'll face the sunny side head on. I had a vision of what it might be like to reach the exit.
Hey, everybody. We have a very special Thursday show planned. We have a great guest on our Zoom. And by the way, right before we started the show, Stefanie said that Jonatha Brooke is the singer-songwriter. The great Jonatha Brooke is on our Zoom. And right before we started the show, Stefanie said she is my Bruce Springsteen because I'm a huge Bruce Springsteen fan.
Oh my
She's
gosh.
like, you have no idea. I love Jonatha Brooke. And so Stefanie, why don't you?
Yeah. So, hi, Jonatha.
Hi, Stefanie. Hi, Lynette.
Hi, thank you so much for joining us today. We're very excited.
My pleasure. I'm very excited myself.
So you don't know this, but we go way back to the Story days. So Jonatha was a part of a duo called The Story way back in the very late 80s. Would you say, is that when you guys got together?
Oof. Yeah. I mean, our first record came out in 91 was Grace and Gravity. So yeah, we were like putzing around Boston in the very late 80s. Yep.
So probably around Angel in the House, that was your second release with The Story, I became very obsessed. So I'm going to, certain songs catch you. I don't know, your music really spoke to me, still does. And your voice really spoke to me. And then, so you started in Massachusetts.
Yep. I'm from Boston, grew up there, went to school there, and actually met my partner in the story, Jennifer, at Amherst College. And after school, we ended up moving back to Boston and, playing pretty much every church basement in Boston because it was a very folky singer-songwritery kind of scene and a great place to sort of get your feet under you. But we were both doing other things. She was a graphic designer and I was a modern dancer and a nanny and a cleaning lady. And it was just this crazy time of piecing things together. And then we got this record deal, and that was sort of the impetus to drop the other things and do music full time.
So how did you get the record deal? I mean, you're playing, you're good, but I know you were like a big dancer. So how did you balance that and decide that music's the thing?
I was, I danced in so many different companies in Boston, but one of them, we performed this USO benefit concert one night at the Roxy, and I was wearing not that much stuff. It was like a flapper number. So I was wearing this little short satin dress with fishnets and high heels and a flapper, skull cap thingy. But I always had I always had demo tapes with me wherever I went. So ran into this record producer guy who ended up working with Tommy LaPuma in New York. Tommy LaPuma is like one of the record producers of all time. Anyway, so I hand this guy Angelo a cassette in my flapper dress. And he ends up working with Tommy and listens to it and gives it to Tommy LaPuma, and that's how the record deal happened. And that's how we ended up doing Angel in the House. And then Elektra re-released our first Grace and Gravity record after we signed.
So were you really excited?
I was pretty stoked, although my husband at the time, Alain Mallet, who produced my first 4 records, basically, I didn't know how important Tommy was at that point, and Alain almost, collapsed when we got the phone call. He's like, "Do you have any idea, Jonathan?" I'm like, "Tommy who?" And he's like, "No, this is the big leagues." So yeah.
Wow.
Then I got excited. Then I started listening to everything that Tommy had produced, and it was pretty ridiculous.
So did you have you must have had a big PR team behind it? I mean, how did they get it out? How did I hear about it?
Yeah,
it's so hard. It's changed so much now.
It has changed a ton. I don't even know what I would do if I were just beginning. It would just be overwhelming and too depressing. At the time, I had written this song called "So Much Mine,"
Love
and
that song.
It was the beginning of what was called AAA radio. I think it still is called AAA radio, but it's become more of it's a little more edgy, rocky, independent, whatever now. But back in the time, it was pretty eclectic. And there were a lot of singer-songwriter types that got airplay on those stations. And so much of mine became a top 5 song on that radio format. And that's how you heard of me, probably because
Well, there's a big
um,
station, I think in LA, KSCA. Do you
yeah,
remember that
KSCA
station?
and
And it,
also what's KCRW. I don't know if they were around back then, but I'm sure that
they
they
were.
played. We were,
Mhm.
that song got a lot of airplay. So that was how.
KSCA is where I discovered, I mean, so many people, Jan Arden and
Oh wow.
Paula Cole, and you got a
Yeah.
lot of play on there. Mimi
Yep.
Chen was one of the DJs there, but I
Uh-huh.
remember constantly, because it was in those days, having a paper and pencil with me in the car, and then like hearing like, oh,
A
that was so and
song.
so, and then writing it down, and then because then
Yeah.
you'd have to go to the record store and buy the CD or
Right. Right.
I'm
I
old.
remember
Yeah.
when you could go to like Tower Records and you'd ask the dude or the dudette behind the counter, like, hey, what are you listening to? And they'd be like, oh, you got to check this out.
Oh,
Like,
I love
you know,
that.
and it was so fun. I would buy records just because they told me to.
Oh yeah, I had one of my good friends worked at Tower Records, and I would go in there all the time when she was working. She would have all the info on all the up and coming artists that were coming out that you never heard of, and now
Yep.
I remember going to see the movie. I think it was Reality Bites, and loving the Lisa Loeb song. You say.
You say. Yeah.
So in those days, there wasn't Google though, so you couldn't just
Right.
put in lyrics and figure out who it was. And I didn't know who it was. And I remember going to Tower Records and trying to sing it to the person.
They
And it
love
was-
that when
and-
you do that.
Yeah, and they were like, no idea. So it took a while. It had to be in my brain for
Right.
too long before I finally, because the soundtrack wasn't out yet. Yeah,
Right.
at the
And
time.
you wouldn't even have known, like, the girl with the glasses.
Right? No,
Right.
You
didn't
wouldn't
know
even known to
any.
say that yet.
Didn't know
Right.
anything. So eventually it came out, and I was like, oh, it's Lisa Loeb and 9 Stories.
Yes.
Okay, so you have these albums with the story, a couple of,
Mhm.
and then you, like a year later, you go out on your own.
Yeah, that happened.
Was that uncomfortable?
It was a weird, it was to be expected. It was a little bit of a lopsided kind of work arrangement. And Jennifer and I were very, very different people. And I was sort of this driven, compulsive, like bossy, obsessive person. And she was a little
Relatable.
lower key and didn't really enjoy the road that much. And I was like, come on, give me some more. Let's go to Europe. Let's do all the things. And so it ran its course. And then I went solo, which was terrifying because, our identity had been this duo and this beautiful way we had of singing together and these intricate harmonies and crossing and weaving voices. And so it was a scary time, but the next record did really great. And then the one after that did really
So
great.
Plum
and
was the next one,
Plum was the next one.
right?
Yeah.
And Plum had
Plum.
some of my favorite songs. I made sure to write them down so I don't have it wrong. But Inconsolable, West Point, No Better. Oh my God. I mean, these are songs that I have played just on repeat over and over and over. I've dragged my husband to come see you. It's not really his type of music, but he gets it. I've been to see. So I used to go see you all the time at Largo. You played Largo
I love
a lot.
playing there.
Did you live in LA at the time?
I
When
did.
all-
I moved to LA in 97 and moved to New York in 2002. So I was there for 5 years.
Uh-huh.
So I think I
Yeah.
went to every show that was at Largo. One time, early date with my husband, and now we've been married 20 years. He was meeting me there, and he was like an hour late. And if you went to Largo, if you wanted seats, you had to go early and get dinner. So I remember it was like we had a huge fight about it.
Oh, really? 'Cause you got
because he
there-
was really late, and I just kept. I don't know. Did we have? I guess we had cell phones, and I was calling him, and he was like, I'm leaving right now. And I'm like, you can't leave at the time that you're supposed to be here in LA traffic. Like, are you kidding me? So I sat by myself, but I was like, you know what? It's fine. I'll be by
Aw.
myself. But then 10 Cent Wings came out.
Yeah.
And then my favorite song, Because I Told You So, which was on
Oh.
that album. And I feel, and I just want you to tell me if I'm right, that you played that song for the first time ever at Largo. Because I
I'm
feel like you
sure.
said, this is the first time I'm ever playing this song. And I was like, this is my new
Yeah, I'm
favorite
sure
song.
that was it, because 10 Cent Wings wasn't even out yet on some of those earlier Largo gigs. I was looking for a label for that record.
Yeah, so tell us about that. Okay,
Mhm.
so I want to hear about you getting dropped by your
Yeah.
label. So you're out, you're touring, things are going really well, and then
Ugh. Yeah, well, I think every artist that I respect will tell a similar story when the timing just doesn't work out with a major label, and there's some sort of regime change at the top, and so the person that championed you and understood you and signed you and whatever gets axed, and then the person coming in is like, who the fuck is who's this Jonathan Brooke? I don't know him. And, it's just kind of par for the course. So I was in the middle of this tour behind 10 Cent Wings. One of my, well, they're all beloved. They're like children, but 10 Cent Wings just feels like this epic work to me. And I was in the middle of this national tour, and Secrets and Lies, the first single, was charting it again, AAA radio. And this weird contractual thing came up. And again, the person who had championed me was gone now, and a new person came in, and they didn't really get me. And they're like, oh, well, her contract, is up for renewal. Let's just clean house. So even though the song was charting and I was on the road and I was working my butt off, they were just like, nah, not really. I don't really hear a single, so bye-bye. And we negotiated a little bit. Like, it was, we in good faith were like, well, wait a minute, like we're actually doing really great. Like, just give us a little more time on the road, and let's see how this song does at radio. And why don't we extend you don't have to sign this contract extension right now. Give me 6 more months to, like, let's see how this goes. And they never called back. We never heard from them again. They didn't negotiate at all. And the following, this was like a Friday, and then the following Monday, they actually told radio to stop playing my song, and that I no longer existed.
Was this in like the early 2000s, or like when kind of Napster was coming around and things were
This was right
changing?
before that. This is like 97, 98.
Oh, wow.
I mean, you
Brutal.
must have just been devastated.
Yeah.
And they told them to stop playing the song?
Oh yeah. Like it was like literally on the desks of those programming directors the next week, like, stop playing her because we're getting behind this other, I forget who it was at the time.
Wow.
Paula Cole.
Probably.
So what'd you do though? Because obviously this is where I just think this is really, like, for me, I didn't miss a beat because I was used to just going to see you wherever you were playing. But I know this must have been, I mean, I understand the feeling of like losing that support. And weren't you about to make a video?
Oh yeah, there was all sorts of stuff sort of in the works. But I think what sort of, I guess, got me through what could have been a really dark and long depression. Actually, my husband, Pat, had the idea to throw a party for all of the other artists that we knew that had gone through the same thing, so that I wouldn't quite feel so lonely. So Michelle and Degiacello came over, and Wendy and Lisa from Prince's old band. And we threw this dinner party in
They
Malibu
got
at
dropped
Pat's house.
too?
Say again?
They got dropped too?
Oh yeah, everyone I know has been dropped at least once or twice by a major label. So yeah, they'd all been dropped and misunderstood, and sort of. So we threw this party, and Pat's a great cook, and we drank a lot of wine, and kind of were like, well, okay, well, I guess it's not so bad. We were in good company, and my fans, like you just said, don't necessarily care where the record came from or whether I have a label or not, or you might not even ever know that. It's just like, as long as there are gigs and there's a sort of a stream of work coming through, nothing really has changed. I just have to figure out how to do it myself. So that was the next task. And we made a little live record of those shows that I was finishing, that tour that I was in the middle of. And we put the live record out as a kind of testing the waters thing to see if we could be independent. And then Bad Dog Records was born. And it's been mom and pop ever since.
She's a
Wow.
hustler. Like
Good for
us.
you. Yeah, that's so you just bet on yourself and decided you were going to just take it on your own and just
We
produce
did.
and
We figured like,
everything.
well, why let these old white men ruin my life again and again and again? They didn't know any better than I did necessarily. At that point, I had relationships with a lot of the DJs at radio stations, and I was credible. I had a really great track record. I had a great audience, and I figured like, all right, well, great. They helped me get to this level. So I do have this sort of groundwork. I can take it from here, and I think I can probably do a better job than you.
Yeah,
jerks.
absolutely. And other
And then-
artists were doing the same thing at that time, right? Like,
Yeah, I mean, we were early days. Ani DeFranco, of course, was the poster child of like indie from the get-go. I was kind of in the early bird next wave. Amy Mann did it. I think Michael Franti did it. Actually, at one point we were talking about we should do like a United Artists thing. We should be me and Amy Mann and Michael Franti. That would be such a cool thing. But it's
Like
very
have your
hard
own
to, like,
label.
yeah, to team up. Like 1 and 1 and 1 could equal 10. If we pooled resources, but it's very hard to get artists on the same page.
Yeah.
Like herding ducks or something. I don't know.
right.
So you were just
But then
kind of on your own.
my big studio record as an independent artist was Steady Pull, and that we killed it with that one. We
did
had
really
a top
well.
5 song, and we did great. So
So how did you do that? So that one was just you using your relationships and calling the radio stations and asking them to play you.
pretty much, yeah, it was me and Pat.
Wow.
Yep,
That's so admirable.
So he
Like,
was your manager.
he was my manager, and
Was
then
when you met
and
him,
now-
he was your manager?
say again.
When you met him, he was your manager, and then you guys
Yeah.
fell in love.
Yeah, actually, Tommy LaPuma, that guy that first signed me, introduced us way back in the early days, and then we started working together in the early 90s, like right at the tail end of Angel in the House is when Pat took over management, and then about 4 years later, we kind of like the polar whatever those things that magnets do when they repel one another.
Yeah.
It just switched polarity, and we were like inseparable, and it's been that way
Aw.
ever since. That was 97.
Oh,
cute?
that is so cute. That's awesome.
It's weird. I mean, neither of us would have said like, oh yeah, I could see myself with him, or I could see myself with her. We were just it was a business relationship. It was very serious, and he's a great manager, but like there was no funny business. And then it literally was like the magnets being redirected. And
He's still very business. He's still very all business. He doesn't
Yeah.
he doesn't write back to emails and say, "Oh yeah, we're married." He's like, "I'm her manager. What are the details?" Yes, she would be interested.
Sorry about that.
No, I was like, "Yeah, I know who you are." This is kind of funny.
It's funny.
That's
You know
good.
what? So like trivia, our first kiss was at Largo. You were probably there.
I probably was. I don't think I missed a show. What happened?
Well, it was after a show, and it had been an intense week, and I'd been courting labels, trying to find a home for 10-cent wings, and it was just a big nightmare. And after the show, he came upstairs, and we think that it was me. We think that I kissed him, but it literally something happened in the air that night that swapped everything.
After a magical performance in front of Stephanie Wilder Taylor.
Yeah, it was. Maybe it was you, Stephanie.
But like, were you already thinking in that direction? Were you having a crush?
No,
Was
no,
he-
no. It was just like, wait, what just happened? That is,
Wow.
and then we were both kind of like, this is so weird. Like, and then I think we kissed again, and then like that's literally then we were inseparable.
Oh, that's so nice.
That's really cute.
That's really cute. That's really
It's
cute.
weird.
Did you
Yeah,
write
it's been,
any
20
of your songs about him?
Oh, there's so many songs about him.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah,
new
Steady Pull
dress,
is about
right?
is kind of about him. New Dress, yep. Your House is a little bit about him and a little bit about my mom at the same time, which sounds weird until you know the story. There's a song called Too Much Happiness that's pretty much about Pat. There's a song called Never Too Late for Love. Yeah.
And how does he feel about the songs?
He's so funny. He's like, whatever.
Let her do her thing. She's the artist.
Yeah, and I was so excited about the song Too Much Happiness. I just thought, oh, what a sweet, wouldn't that be? He's like, it's okay.
Does he have a favorite song of yours?
I think Because I Told You So is one of his faves. I think.
Can you tell us? I've always wondered, like, did you write that about somebody or just about your feelings about? I don't know. That song really.
What's the
speaks
song
to me.
about?
At the time it was about, or it was being written. I was writing it around the time that my first marriage was ending, but it was also the time when my ex-husband and I were making 10-cent wings together. So I was writing those songs. We were recording a lot of it in our living room on ADATs. It was, it's very intense time. And I don't think either of us even had the bandwidth to realize how telling the songs were. Often I'll write something that's very, to me, it's sort of an intellectual thing, even though it's emotional. And I may be crying when I write it. I'm sure I was crying when I wrote Because I Told You So. But at the same time, I was crying because it felt like, oh, this is universal. I think everyone can relate to this. And there's this, turn of phrase that makes it poignant. It's not, but get in your room because I told you so. It's not that. It's like, can't you believe that I love you? But just because I told you so, isn't that enough? And so
I feel that song from the other side, from
really?
being insecure and feeling like you can't tell me enough. I just can't feel it.
Wow.
And that's sad. I feel it from the point of view of feeling like a broken cup. I don't now that I've been married but I just remember feeling that so much at the time of just like, I was in a new relationship. You know what I mean? My husband is not super effusive. And and that would be the kind of thing he would say to me. Like, I'm telling you that I'm committed and I'm into you. Like, how many different ways can I tell you before you believe me? Will you play that?
Yeah.
Oh my God, this is exciting.
Boom.
If I gave you the sky, and if I laid down my life, would you believe me then? And if I promised to change, and if I carried the blame, would you believe me then? Could you see it like me and believe what I see? Could you listen and remember that I love you only because I told you so? And if you told me that you lied, but I stayed true and tried, would you believe me then? And if your beauty was gone, but my love lingered on,
I got the
I
chills.
might have capped it a little on that high note, but whatever.
That
No,
was
so good.
beautiful.
Oh,
Beautiful.
Thank you.
This was surreal. I had to take a picture of it so I could send it to one of your other super fans so I could brag. Oh my gosh, that was unbelievable. So beautiful. It took me all the way back to to Largo. And I'll never forget how when you said this is the first time, and I was like, oh my God, this is going to be a huge song. And in fact, Nick Lachey covered it at some point.
That's
Which
right.
I've never on principle listened to. And it makes me weirdly angry, irrationally angry.
Yeah, how did that
but
happen?
I keep hoping that someone will cover it who actually can make it reach a bigger audience. I don't have the the wherewithal right now to sort of pay for marketing and managing, like all the stuff that it takes to really reach further. And
Right.
I keep thinking like John Mayer loves this song. Like, gee, he should cover it. Why John Mayer?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
do the song. Come, I know you
I'll
love
tell
it.
him.
So yeah, you tell him.
He's on next week.
So I want to talk about a little break you took for a little bit to take care of your mom.
Oh.
And then a beautiful album and show came out of that, which I didn't get to see. I don't think it was in LA at a time. I don't think you did performance of it. Did you in LA? I don't think so.
No, I did a
would've gone.
really early, terrifying kind of reading of it, among friends. So I sort of tried it, and I hired a cello player out there, and I did a very early version of it at Bob Clearmountain's studio, just to see if I could get through it without dying, and it went really well. And so that sort of spurred on the continuing development of it.
So can
yeah,
you
then
just
it went
take
to
us back, because
off-Broadway.
these guys don't know, but tell us like what happened and how this came about.
So it was early 2010. I had put out a record in late 2009 called The Works, which was this really cool project where I got to go into the Woody Guthrie archives and choose from among his poetry and his letters and his journals, and basically take his lyrics and create new songs with them. And I was able to cut and paste things that, hadn't seen each other before and make this beautiful record. So I was on the middle of this big tour. Record was getting some really beautiful press because it's a gorgeous project. It's called The Works. And meanwhile, my mom had Alzheimer's and it was really getting a little crazy, and she needed full-time care, and there was no way I was not going to be there for her. So in the middle of touring that record, I went to Boston and I stayed with my mom. She was in a sort of not really assisted living facility, and was falling, and it was a mess. And so I stayed with her there for a couple of months, just observing, trying to figure out like, how bad is this and what do I do? And basically that September 4th, Labor Day weekend, 2010, which is my wedding anniversary, I packed up an SUV with whatever I thought my mom might need for, for the next whatever. And I drove us to New York, to my apartment in New York, and arrived at our building. And my husband ran down to meet us on the curb, and there I am in this SUV. I haven't slept in weeks. I'm just exhausted. And there's my mom, demented as ever, in the front seat. I'm like, "Hi, happy anniversary, my love. I brought you my mother." And
Wow.
Here we go, basically. And so for 2 years, I took care of my mom in New York, and it turned into this incredible roller coaster love story, and all the things, dementia. My mom was a character. She was very theatrical. She had studied to be a clown earlier in her life. So there were these clown elements that entered into it. And I ended up just writing it all down. And she became complicit in this sort of like, this is a great story, Booley. Booley's my nickname. Are you getting this down? This is good stuff. We should make a play out of it. We should take it to Broadway. We could make a ton of money. I'm like, Mom, maybe whatever. I am getting it down though, because this is good stuff, and it's probably bigger than my next record. This is definitely theater. And so it became this one woman theater piece. I weave 10 songs in and out of the story of me and my mother, and it really hit a chord, and people really related to it. And so there's a record of the same
It's
title.
one of my
called Mother.
favorites of your albums. Oh,
Thank you. Yeah,
and Are You
it's
Getting This
very
Down
deep.
is one of the most beautiful songs ever. I saw.
What's the name of the album?
It's called My Mother Has Four
My
Noses.
mother has four noses.
Wow.
And why does your mother have four noses?
Well, that's the thing you find out in the show. I don't talk
Which I
about
didn't
it
get
a
to
lot
see.
besides the show. So at first, people think it's a metaphor, that she was a clown and she probably had a red one and a green one and whatever. But you find out, no, it's not a metaphor. The opening of the show is like, my mother has four noses. It's not a metaphor. It's that she blah, blah, blah. And then so I go back in time and I talk about this skin cancer that destroyed her face, basically. And because of her religion, she chose not to treat it medically. She spent 25 years, she prayed for God to sort of fix this thing, and God did not fix it. And so basically medicine fixed it. And so in an earlier sojourn with my mom in 1999, she moved in with me in LA for a year. And that's when we fixed her up. We got rid of the cancer. And basically, when you have lost that much of your your face, they make you, a beautiful prosthetic nose, and they make you 4 of them, so that I guess that you have options, and they are differently pigmented. So the opening line of the show is, my mother has 4 noses: winter, spring, summer, fall.
I was gonna
Wow.
say, yeah, you need one for summer when you're like a little tan.
Yeah, a little
Although
more freckly. And
Well,
Wow.
it's so beautiful. So you did that show in New York, and it went well. It was
Yeah.
really well reviewed.
Yep. And then I've done it now in Cleveland. I've done it in Arkansas. I did a month-long run in Philadelphia, and I've done it a month in Minneapolis, here where I live now. So, and I'm actually maybe bringing it back next year. I worked on a little grant proposal to maybe what's the word? Smallin it, to like restructure it so that it's more travelable, and that the production isn't so overwhelming that you have to do a 3-week run to make it feasible. I'm trying to figure out a way that I could actually do it, a night at a time all over the country.
Wow.
That would be really cool.
Yeah.
So,
Because
and
a lot of people couldn't come to New York to see it, and what are you going to do? You have to bring it to
Right.
the people.
I know you have fans everywhere, a lot in LA.
And how do you stay in touch with your fans? Do you have a website? You
Yeah.
don't-
We'll get to that.
Yeah.
Well, that's a really good question, because I was going to ask you that as well. It's like there's a certain demographic sort of precipice drop off of networkiness, where like, how do I reach the Stephanies of the world? If you're not on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter all the time, I think there are a lot of people out there that I don't even know how to reach them anymore. And
Well,
they
it's-
might want to know what I'm doing, but
Right. I mean, it would seem tough when you don't have a company
Machine.
behind you, a machine like constantly pumping out all the PR and all that.
Yeah.
It seems like it would be really tough.
I mean, I feel like your Facebook is pretty active, and so during COVID, you started doing a lot of performances from your house. It was like the greatest thing for me. I came to all. I was the one who
You came
told
to every
you.
show.
I came to every show. It took a lot of work, but I was one who was like, you got to do Venmo. I was trying to help you because you were doing something to get for people to, tip you.
yeah.
And I was like, do Venmo. It'll be a lot easier. Because I think you were
I
only
ended up doing like 60 some odd shows. Like every Monday I was doing this show. It started in my kitchen, and then I moved it up here because the acoustics are better. But it really saved us. I mean, the Venmo and the PayPal, that was a real thing, and it got us through. Because I mean, neither my husband or I could be working. Like, he manages recording artists, and I'm a recording artist, and we were grounded. So it was huge, and it was also kept me a little bit sane, even though I couldn't tell I could see the numbers on the thing on the side of like, oh, 600 people this time. Yay. And there's Netherlands and France and Morocco. And there's a Japanese person and a Philippine person. And this is awesome. Except it was just my laptop and the little green light here. I just would pretend that it was, hundreds and hundreds of people. And
But it was.
And it was. It was just like, I just had to pretend. You have to pretend. It's daunting, because you're alone in your room.
Yeah, that's got to be hard as an artist.
Yeah, it's a thing.
Yeah.
It's a really good training.
Yeah.
How did
You just have to be like, all right, there are 600 people here, and we're gonna do this thing, and it got over.
And people, I think, they're excited about it and they're getting an opportunity to be a part of something. I think it builds community too, because you can look in the chat and you can see.
Right.
I mean, I know for us, for me and Lynette and Kaylin, the thing that kind of changed the game for us as podcasters was the Facebook group. And it was like we had a Facebook page, but when we started a group, that's when all the fans started talking to each other. And it became, because I would say to Lynette, like, how come like we put out an episode that's super funny or, a great episode and like nobody really talks about it in the comments.
Right.
And then I asked one of the, like I was like, how come you guys never comment? And they said, because it comes up in our feed. And like, sometimes it's like personal. I don't want everybody reading it. So we were like, well, what if we did a Facebook group?
Private. Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
Not secret, but just a private group that they have to enter because they like you. And then they all it went crazy. Like we had thousands of people and then they all were talking to each other and it's like beyond us.
Yeah.
But I feel like your fans like feel special because they feel like they have not a secret. I mean, you're fairly well known, but I mean, when they're like, oh, when you love Jonatha Brooke, you love Jonatha Brooke. I don't know if you can tell. I love Jonatha Brooke. So when they, it's I'm sure a feeling at your shows, at like when you were
more
doing
intimate.
the COVID.
Yeah.
It's an intimate feeling and they want to talk to each other and get to, and like, meet each other and feel part of something.
It's an incredible community. And the kitchen COVID, the COVID concerts were really so reassuring. I felt so bolstered by everything you just said. Like it was a real community. And so every time I would sit there for hours thanking every single person who like pitched in on Venmo. There was one girl, I forget, her name was Amy Lotsberg, I think. Every single show she gave me $5. And it meant the freaking world to me because I knew she couldn't afford any more than that, but she was there every week. It makes me cry even now. Like it just was like the most sweetest thing. So every week I'm like, thank you, Amy. I love you so much. Thank you. And then, there were other people who were like super, super generous and lovely. And they would just be like, it's okay. Don't worry. I can afford this. And I really want you to have it. And that too was like,
Right.
Oh my God, you saved us.
That's great.
And now that I'm out and about, actually able to tour again, every show somebody brings up the COVID concerts. They're like, and thank you for the COVID concerts. I'm like,
It was just so nice to have. They were every Monday, right? If I'm
Yeah.
remembering it correctly, every Monday.
Yeah.
And the kitchen, you call it the kitchen COVID?
Kitchen COVID concerts.
I mean, it was so fun.
Yeah. Oh, and it's actually one fan from LA made me this. You see that wooden thing?
Oh, is that a painting?
It's like
Kitchen
a wooden
COVID
painting.
concerts.
She made me my own plaque.
Oh, cute. It says kitchen
So that
COVID
would be
concerts.
in the background.
I love that.
So when COVID started to like dwindle a little bit, did you ever have like people come over to be your audience? Or did you always just do it you?
I never did that. I had my cello player came over, so we did some cello song stuff, and that was the only time that there was. Oh, and then my stepdaughter Lily came over, and she was a guest once.
I saw that.
She was a guest host once. 'Cause I had to go to like jury duty or doctor's appointment or something. I think it was jury duty.
So do you feel like you had to learn a bunch of tech and like how did you figure it all out? Because I'm the worst with that kind of thing.
Well, clearly I suck at it too, because I had a friend who lives here, Kelly Lynn Knott, who was doing a lot of facilitating the techie stuff for people. She figured all the icky stuff out for me. She got me this little mixer here, and I bought this microphone, and because there were a lot of audio files among the fans who were like, there's too much echo on your microphone. You need some sound baffling in your room. And I'm like, okay, all right.
So so you're touring now. I mean, we'll name some of your tour dates, but I'm coming to see you in November at McCabe's
Nice.
for our LA people. I'm sure my
Yeah.
friend Jonathan Bourne, another super fan of yours, will come meet me there.
Awesome.
I'll make Lynette go.
I'm going to go. I want to go for sure.
So good.
Awesome.
Seen you at McCabe's now a few times. Made you sign My Mother Has Four Noses to give to my husband's sister. Their mom passed from Alzheimer's too. And they were going through it for like 10 years. She had it. Yeah. So before we get to like another song, what have you been working on like right now?
I have been working on 2 musicals and actually 3.
She's a go-getter.
And then I'm
Yeah.
trying to remember how to write normal songs so that I hope to make a new record at some point. I'm not sure with what money I will make it, but I would like to make another Jonatha record before it's too late. But I'm kind of deep into these 2 front burner musicals. One of them is called Switched. It's about 2 women who are switched at birth, and they find out when they're 40. And then the sort of play starts with them getting these letters. Like, did you ever think you were maybe? Well, it's true, you were. And then, like, boom, the show starts, and we circle back to them as kids, and that's a really cool project. So I'm working on that pretty diligently. And then there's another musical called Tempus, Tempus, as in Tempus Fugit, Time Flies. That is a commission from 2 New York producers. So I'm co-writing that with a woman named Jacqueline Backus, killer playwright. So we're working on that, and that's front burner as well.
Wow.
No pressure.
That's great. Yeah.
Terrifying.
Well, do you want to play us another song? I'll let it be your
Oh.
choice, so
Okay.
I don't make you tune your guitar for 20 minutes.
I wouldn't put you through that. Let me see if the other guitar is tuned to something more normal. Hold on. Put the gun down. Come talk to me. Got a lot of nerve, bitching about your freedom. You say you had it rough. Everybody got their cross, so you bear it up. You seek your prophets, tally your laws, and then you carry on, carry on, carry on. Carry on, carry on, carry on. Nobody done you wrong, so you carry on, and you put the gun down. Was your daddy mean? Your mama couldn't be saved. No one keeping you clean. Or is it just attention that you crave? So put the gun down. Nobody has to lose. You got no way out except forgiveness. So you better choose. And you carry on, carry on, carry on. Carry on, carry on, carry on. Nobody done you wrong,
make it to Wednesday. Thursday, you might feel the sun. Friday knows nothing about Saturday. Sunday don't need no gun. Don't aim, don't swing. Nobody has to bleed. No fat lady gonna sing. You may never get what you need. But you carry on, carry on, carry on. Carry on, carry on, carry on. Nobody done you wrong. So you carry on. You carry on, carry on, carry on. Carry on, carry on, carry on. Nobody done you wrong. So you carry on. You put the gun down. Put the gun down.
Wow. So beautiful. Such great lyrics. Very interesting. Very
Thank
interesting.
you.
Another one I've listened to over and over and over and over.
Oh,
Little
yay.
OCD with your music.
Love it.
Oh my gosh. I feel so honored that you came and did our podcast. And let's send our audience.
Yes.
First of all, can you, I was sent your tour dates, but do you know any of them offhand?
I do.
Okay.
Let's see. Well, this weekend I'm playing with Patty Griffin.
I know.
Wow.
I know, and I haven't seen her in years. She was kind of came up in the Boston scene right when Jennifer and I were starting out, so we go way back. The first one's in Hammondsport, New York, which is the Finger Lakes region. I think it's at this like winery, fancy outdoor place. It's a daytime show on the 17th. The next one's in Annapolis, Maryland, on that 28th, and no. On the 17th, sorry. Annapolis is the 17th. And then I'm out on the road with my sexy hot guitar player, Sean, who also sings his butt off. We're in New Hope, which is outside of Philly, New Hope, Pennsylvania, on the 28th. We're in Portland, Maine, the 29th. We're in Natick, Mass, my old stomping grounds, Natick, sure, on the 30th. And then we do Portsmouth, New Hampshire. Then we do Vienna, Virginia. I mean, it's a
Lot of East
Go to my
Coast.
website,
Yeah.
jonathabrooke.com. Yeah.
Yeah.
And jonathabrooke.com on Instagram, on Facebook. You have a Facebook page, YouTube channel, Jonatha Brooke. So everybody just go to her socials. And when you go see her in concert, go wait in line with your thing to have signed and tell her FCOL.
Yes.
Yes.
So she'll
Do
know.
it.
We'll know you.
FCOL.
Yeah. Thank you
I
so
love that
much.
that's the name of your podcast. I look for crying out loud. It's what's such a great. I might have to steal that and make a song.
Oh, please. We would
Yeah.
love that. I was just going to say,
Wow.
will you write a song?
You know, it's kind of like Because I Told You So. Like for crying out loud.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, we started as basically a parenting podcast. I have twins. I have twins and a older one, and Lynette has twins. And so when we started, our kids were really little, both of us. So we were like overwhelmed with it. And we love to like complain.
Right.
It's like our thing that we do. Vent and
Crying
complain
out
about
loud.
parenting.
For
So yeah,
crying
so
out
that's
loud.
where we came up with all,
You're like,
the
knock it
little double.
off. Don't make me hit you.
Right.
Thank you so
well,
much.
thank you so much, Jonathan. This
Yeah, we
has
loved
been
it.
great. We really appreciate your time.
Appreciate you thinking of me. Yeah, thank you so much. It's been fun talking to you.
Okay.
All right, everybody.
Bye.
Check her out. Thank you. Mwah.
Bye.
Oh, that was so
That was
cool.
awesome.
Aw.